Commonwealth of Dominica, or better known as Dominica. So let's look at this country for your second passport. So AAA Associates Immigration Services. Well, we're part of the Samana Group. We're based in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. We've been in this business with second passport market for citizenship by investment or residency by investment or business migration for over 20 years now. We've got a lot of skilled team here. Everything is done in-house, and we have security for all your personal data. So there's no worries there. We concentrate on the UK, Europe, USA, Canada, and obviously the Caribbean as well. We're members of various immigration regulatory bodies as well, and government bodies and authorized to act on your behalf in these countries. Citizenship by investment is basically another way of saying a second passport in another country. For the Caribbean programs, we run St. Kitts and Nevis, we run Dominica, Antigua Barbuda, Grenada, and St. Lucia. The two main popular programs are St. Kitts and Nevis and Dominica. Previously covered St. Kitts and Nevis in our previous webinar, and you can go onto YouTube and find it, or on our website as well. And Dominica as well. We'll be putting this up on the website after, so you can go back, look through if there's any questions that you're not sure of or you missed something. Obviously, you'll be able to see. Each program has its own merits. Each program has different pricing packages depending on what people want, whether they want to make a donation or whether they want to invest in a real estate development. Generally speaking, these tend to be more hotel projects with share issues. So Commonwealth of Dominica, as I said earlier, we are internationally accredited. We have a certificate of incorporation. We also have offices in Dominica as well, with our own representatives there. So we're on the ground in the country, which is obviously very important. Our CEO here meeting with Mr. Imran Farouk, who's our CEO, he's meeting with His Excellency the Ambassador Emmanuel Nanford. Okay. And as you can see, there's a small map on the side. It's probably very difficult to see it, but it's just illustrating where Dominica is in the Caribbean. All these small little islands are mainly tourist attractions, but they've been involved in this for maybe 30 years as the Commonwealth of Dominica, in raising income for different projects on the island and passing on the benefits of having a second passport. The history, as I just said, it was introduced as a program in 1993, so it's over 29 years old, coming up to its 30th anniversary next year, by the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica. It's one of the longest running programs in the Caribbean. I mean, these second citizenship programs have been running for a number of years. Some countries, like, for example, St. Kitts and Nevis, have been running for nearly 40 years now, as like Canada, the UK on the residency side as well. So Citizenship by Investment Unit in Dominica are always looking at different programs and different ways to raise funds to develop the island and create necessities with on the island of things they need, and that's generally geared around tourism industry, maybe a new airport, things like that. They want to develop, and housing and all kinds of things. So by buying into the passport, you're really giving something back to that country, and then they're giving something to you, and then it's entirely up to you how you would like to do that. The advantages, well, there's many advantages with these programs. The main advantage with anything like a Caribbean passport is people want it because they don't want to necessarily go and live in the country. They just want the passport for ease of travel. With Dominica being a Commonwealth country, it has a lot of benefits. For example, it gives you access to the full EU area, so you can go and stay there for up to 90 days. And you also get the access to go to the UK for 6 months at a time, as long as it's for business or visiting family, friends, or whatever, but not as a route to settlement in the UK. But it does give you that option, and that's why people go for it. You have access to about 144 countries with this passport, like I said, including the Schengen. And you also have access with Dominica, which some of the other Caribbean programs don't offer, is you are visa-free to China. So if you do a lot of business in China, it's a great passport for that. It gives you your full citizenship and residency status, including working rights. So basically, if you decide in 10 years time, 15 years time, you want to go and live there, you're more than welcome. You're treated the same as any other citizen in the country. So whether there's somebody's born and lived there all their life, by getting this passport, it gives you those same rights. I'll talk through the advantages here that I've provided in the list, and then if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to note them down, and I'll answer them at the end. I mean, the passport is a global community. Basically, like I said, it transcends Dominica's borders, and people, can travel the world with it. 192 countries around the world, and you're getting access to 144 either visa-free or visa on arrival. So, like I say, it's a very good and strong passport. There's no wealth or gift or inheritance or foreign income or capital gains tax. The flexibility they allow in Dominica, they allow you to hold. You can have 2, 3 passports. They don't have a problem with that. But what you need to do is check with your country. For example, if you're applying from India, then you might have to relinquish your Indian passport if you have a Dominican passport. And it's important to check these things, because if you don't, you can end up with hefty fines and create yourself quite a problem. So there are double taxation treaties as well with the USA and with CARICOM as well, which is a consortium of a number of different countries that have created this CARICOM. There's about 15 Caribbean countries in total involved in it. And there's a lot of benefits you can get from that if you were thinking of doing trade from Dominica with the other Caribbean countries. It's always a possibility. The dollar there, the Eastern Caribbean dollar, is pegged with the US dollar. So again, that gives a lot more stability in the country. And there's no restriction on repatriation of profits for imported capital. So they're very, wanting people to invest in the country as well. Exemption of import duties, tax relief, and export allowances. So if you're thinking of doing business there, you get the benefits of these. There's duty-free access to several of the markets across the Caribbean as well. And like I said earlier, it allows for visa-free travel to 144 countries around the world, including the United Kingdom, Singapore, and every nation in the EU. There's no minimum stay requirements to obtain the passport. You don't even have to go to Dominica. And with the passport, it gives you, like I said, the same rights as a Dominican citizen that's lived and born there all their life. You get the same consular protection and support worldwide. Now, Dominica's, like I said, is a tourist hotspot, especially popular for diving and hiking. A lot of Americans, because of issues in America with the governments and such like, are all considering this as a country to obtain a second passport. And a lot of Americans have second passports in Dominica. It has different options, like I've noted here. You've got a government economic diversification fund program that has $100,000 as a single applicant, and then on top of that, there are various fees that you have to pay for due diligence, etc. And they also have a real estate option as well, if you want more of an investment than to donate to the country. And that's the 𝐄𝐱𝐜𝐸 Resort and Spa, which is part of the autograph collection by Marriott. Again, that's going to cost you for a full investment share purchase holding 5 years, $220,000 with a return on investment. Again, depending on whether it's a single application, depending on whether it's a family of 4, 5, 6, obviously there are additional costs on top of these, booking fees for the shares, for example, and your due diligence fees for the husband, the main applicant and the spouse. And if the children are over the age of 16, then there would be due diligence on the children as well. So this 220 soon starts to grow, but the actual investment you're making is 220. But if you need any more and further details on this, by all means, just get in touch, speak to one of the representatives in our sales team, and they'll be able to find the package that's more suitable for your budget. So again, dual citizenship, like I said earlier, is recognised. There's no residency or personal visit requirements. So the whole process you can go through without even visiting the island, which is, again, gives you that quick and easy passport. No obligation for income tax or any form of taxes unless you're living on the island. Then any earnings that you would generate while running a business, then obviously there would be tax implications for that. Children are included up to the age of 30. They also include siblings, and they also include parents as well. All these have minimum ages. So again, speak with the sales team, and they will be able to talk to you more about age, the actual ages, and fill you in on any details. Maybe if they have a medical condition, that could be a problem. So things like that need to be reviewed before you start the program. And like I said, the minimal taxation requirements, like I said on the previous slide. The process, well, to be honest, it's a very easy process. It used to be about 3 to 4 months and you could have the passport. Now we're sort of saying potentially 6 months, could be pushed out a little bit longer. With some of these programs, the issue is that the president of the country will sign the actual certificate of naturalization, which is the document that you will require in order to go forward for your passport. So if he's not in the country or is away for any period of time, delays can get done, happen there. And also we can get delays, just on the rebound really from COVID. We have been experiencing a number of delays, not significantly high or long running, but they are delays, and you should be aware of that before you start the process. Basically, it's a document collection exercise that we do with you, and we verify those documents. It's quite a straightforward process that we have. You will be assigned a case officer, and that case officer will work with yourself, the salesperson that sold you the actual program, and you'll go through the whole process with them. Any questions you have, you can ask the questions within a group, or by all means you can call and discuss. Like I say, we have a very highly proficient processing team, and everything is dealt with in-house. We're authorized and accredited, like I said, by the countries, and over 20 years experience. We have a secure data protection portal as well, protecting your data, and everything is controlled through an automated workflow portal. So if things are required, it will flag up to us, and obviously we can be in touch with you. We usually collect the documents between 30 and 45 days, and then obviously it goes, all this documentation goes to the government. There'll be initial fees that you'll pay for us to start the process, and you don't pay everything all in one go. The actual main bulk of the payment doesn't come until you receive what we call a comfort letter, and that's just basically saying that everything's okay and you can now ready to make your contribution. So this could be a couple of months down the line before you actually are making the investment of maybe $100,000 or $220,000. Okay, so why AAA Associates? Well, why not? I mean, 20 years experience in the business. We have a lot of competition out there, but we've serviced over 1,000 applications. Everybody's been very happy. We've had no real major issues, and any issues that we have had, we've all dealt with through our experience and working with the governments directly. And these can be just silly things to do with maybe a birth certificate or some other form of documentation that we're requesting from you, that it is some clarity needed. And generally speaking, those are the main issues. The main thing with any of these is all the information you supply, all the documentation that supply, everything you tell us, just be honest with everything, and the process will go through, and within 4, 5, 6 months, you're going to have your passport. We have the secure and data protected portal, which I mentioned earlier. You're treated on a case-by-case basis by a case officer, so you have your own person to touch base with. It's not a case of ringing up and receiving automated phone calls or anything like that. You ring up and you speak to the person. If for some reason that person's busy, there's there's about over 10 people in that department that can take a message or maybe answer a query you might have. Give you, like I say, a one-on-one with each client, with the case officers, around the clock support and assistance. So we're there for you pretty much 24 hours a day, but we do have to sleep, so I hope you can appreciate that. But anything urgent, like I say, we create this group, so you can always send a WhatsApp message and we can pick that up in the morning and answer any queries you may have. We have a very experienced legal team. Like I say, we've been doing this over 20 years, so we know what we're doing. And our officers and team, like I say, are in country. So we actually do have an office in Dominica. So all our documentation, your documentation will go through there. And we're kept up to date as well. So we know what's happening in the country. If there's any changes or any developments or a new project happens, we're there at the forefront. Why would you want to do your second citizenship now? We talk to a lot of people and they all sort of say, oh, well, yeah, I'm thinking of doing it maybe in a month, in a couple of months. Personally, I would say if you want a second passport and you have the funds to get a second passport, do it as soon as possible. Don't wait, because since 2020, when COVID pandemic was announced, and I know we're all sick of talking about COVID, but it has had so many knock-on effects. And there's so many different things happening around the world as well. When you consider this year alone, who thought would be, there'd be a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. All the civil unrest, there's been a number of civil unrests around the world. In Pakistan, we've had civil unrest there with the government. We never know from one day to the next. We can't advise on what's happening in the rest of the world. We can only advise on what we're doing and the countries that we deal with. But I think if you need that passport, and more now than ever because of supply chain issues, 2022 after COVID fallout, and a lot of people are saying that it could be another 2 years before we really can get back, and that's if nothing else severe happens in that period. The passport is going to give so much security to you, to your business, to your family. So the sooner you start really is better. If you're in a position, don't delay, do it now, before any of the changes come that we all are unaware of. I've just listed down a few here. That we have the military coup in Myanmar. We had the UK Brexit. A lot of knock-on effects in the UK with that. We've also had a Yemen war in 2014. There's still the issues all surrounding that, the Syrian economic collapse, and all these because of things that's happened. It's created big problems for them. It's made them into, like, yes, they have a country there, but it's displaced them to a certain degree, and this is what's caused a big problem. So a lot of these nationals from like Myanmar, from Syria, so much instability, these tend to be our biggest clients. Also, you're looking at worldwide unstable governments. Like I said, with what's happened in the UK with Brexit, and then we've had issues with COVID, and now our Prime Minister stepped down, and we're looking for a new Prime Minister. So these things do happen. You maybe think, well, in the UK, never thought these kind of things would happen, but they do happen, and we all have to be appreciating that. Also, we've got worldwide inflation. Every country is suffering. Some have got 9%. Here in Dubai, we've been very lucky. We've been, the country rulers here have really got a grip of COVID and got a grip of the situation, and they've planned ahead from issues they've had from years gone by. So we're not totally insular by any means, but we have you know, a lot of provisions in place. And this is one provision that you can put forward for yourself, for your business, and for the future. So yes, I put some frequently asked questions on here. I'm sure you will all have questions. I'm going to try and address some of the more frequent ones that we get asked. And by all means, if you have any others, you know, just note them down, and I'll. So I pay the government directly or at the embassy here in the UAE. Well, you can't pay directly at the embassy here in the UAE, but you can pay directly to the government in Dominica. And you can also pay directly to us at AAA. You can pay to us, and we can pay over to the government. A lot of clients prefer to do that, and then all the money's in one place and being controlled. Some, you know, because it's a large amount of money, prefer to pay directly to the government. So there's no problem. We can give you all the information so that you can do that yourself. What is the possibility to get a rejection from Dominica? There isn't really. You shouldn't get a rejection from Dominica as long as you have no criminal record, as long as you're there's nothing. Money laundering cases or anything that could come out of the due diligence. As long as you're honest in your application, you tell us any problems you may have, there shouldn't be any rejection at all. What are the differences of a citizen born in Dominica and applying outside Dominica? Well, I mentioned this earlier. There is no difference. Basically, you're treated exactly the same as a Dominican. Do I lose my citizenship if the program is stopped? No, once you started the process, you will go all the way through. And like I said, this program's been running nearly 30 years next year, so I don't think there's be stopping the program at any point. These programs are there because the country needs it to support the tourism trade. It's not like they're big producers of something that they can supply to the rest of the world. They do have agriculture on the island, but it is mainly geared around tourism. What are the main benefits of the Caribbean passport? Well, you know, like I said earlier, there's so many advantages with them. You have the global mobility, you have that secondary choice in your life. It opens up access to the Schengen area, where you can go and physically stay there with the passport. It helps you if you want to basically open a business, or if you want to maybe open a bank account abroad. It's a much stronger passport for doing that. It doesn't give you a right to open a bank account abroad, but it's a much stronger passport, you know, if you would like to open a bank account abroad. How confidential is the process? Well, as I said before, we have state-of-the-art systems here with all your data storage, so there's nothing to worry about there. We have our own client portal as well for communicating with yourself. Can I submit my own application? Unfortunately, you can't with these programs. You have to go through an authorized agent, which we are. Do I have to attend an interview or travel to Dominica? No, unless you fancy going as a holiday. It's a beautiful country. It's a tropical rainforest, beautiful beaches, really friendly people. So by all means, you can travel there, but for the process, you don't need to. You can do everything from your home, just supply all the documentation, and then we'll take care of everything else for you. How do I renew my passport when it expires? Well, you can renew it as you would in your own country with your own country passport. Or you can renew it through us. So you can renew it with the embassy, say, or the consulate if you're in the UAE, you can do it here, or in whichever country you're in. If you find your local embassy for Dominica, you can make an appointment and you can renew it there. Or you can get in touch with us and we can do it for you. And one question we've had quite a lot recently is if I am from northern Iraq, Iran, North Korea, Sudan, or Syria, can I apply? Unfortunately for Dominica, there are bans on these countries at the moment. These do change from time to time. They do change, so it could come back where, for example, the Syrians would be able to apply, or the Sudanese, or the Iranians, or the Iraqis. from northern Iraq, sort of Erbil, that kind of area. The issue is, and it's all based, all these things are based around the due diligence, that they can't fulfill the due diligence in a proper and true manner. So that's why they tend to put these restrictions on. Having said that, don't worry, because there are other countries that we can look at. So, for example, if you wanted to look at maybe 𝐶𝐞 𝐋𝐢𝐯𝐞 or you wanted to look at, say, Antigua or Barbuda, we could look at those sort of programs depending on where you're coming from to make sure that they don't have any restrictions on. And again, give us a call, we'll speak to the sales team and we'll sort that out. So thank you very much. That's the actual presentation. I see we have some questions. So let me have a look at these. So how much is the total cost of Dominica? Like I said to you, the best way, I'm not sort of avoiding the question, it's really down to you as an individual. If you're a sole applicant, for example, it will be 100,000 donation if that's what you want to do. If you decide, oh well, I don't want to donate, I want it more of an investment, then it'll be 220,000. But on top of that, depends on the family members. So if it's you as a single applicant, then it'll be obviously one price. If it's you and your family of 4, or if you have other dependents you want to have, then it'll be another price. So it's not that easy to just give you a price. But this is why we always just talk about the actual investment in the country. Everything else then adds on top. And sometimes these if you go for more the investment, sometimes they can be a lot more expensive than if you just go for the donation route. But again, speak to the sales team and let them know who you're applying for, and then we'll be able to support you in that. So yeah, so basically these are the sort of questions I've been asked. I hope I've covered everything from what I discussed in the frequently asked questions that I answered previously. So by all means, give us a call, speak to the team if you think of something after this, and we'll be able to help you and talk you through. So thank you for joining us today. Hopefully the next one we'll be doing will be on Portugal, and I hope you can join us for that as well. But if you're moving along and you're looking for Dominica, then give us a call, and like I said, the sooner you start, really the better. Thank you.